Hello and welcome once again to Beatle University. I am Professor Moptop, and as we continue to learn all about the White Album, let's head back to side 4 to hear about a fairy tale-esque sounding Lennon song. Originally envisioned as early as late 1967, it took a while for John to complete his tale of the Land of Marigold, but it was all set to be demoed in late May of '68, just before the official sessions for the White Album kicked off.
The Queen was in the playroom painting pictures for the children's holiday. Cry, baby, cry, make your mother sigh. She's old enough to know better, so cry, baby, cry.
It's said that the line, "Cry baby cry, make your mother buy," was misread by McCartney as "Cry baby cry, make your mother sigh," and Lennon decided that Paul's misreading of the word was actually a little bit better. Keep in mind, Lennon had horrible handwriting. On what was likely the 28th of May, John demoed the song, which was just about finalized. Then the tense sessions got underway on the 30th, and they were tense and unpleasant from the beginning, with lots of unpleasantness and tension everywhere. And the Beatles weren't as nice as they used to be to the EMI staff. Geoff Emerick was the chief engineer at the time, and he had a front row seat to a lot of bickering and some non-band-like behavior from the band. On Monday, July 15th, about 6 weeks into the sessions, after working on Obla Di Obla Da yet again, during yet another day in the ugly atmosphere that created the White Album, an uninterested and frustrated Emerick decided that he had enough, and he quietly finished the session as the Beatles got through about 30 unnumbered takes of Cry Baby Cry, nothing which would be released. The following day, Emerick informed George Martin that he would be leaving the sessions immediately, unable to be coaxed back by anyone, including Lennon, who had been rather nasty to Emerick on several occasions throughout the sessions, including yelling at him after John was asked to turn down his amp during the recordings for Revolution, which would become Revolution 1, not to be confused with Revolution. While everybody said, "You can't leave the Beatles in the middle of an album," Emerick did indeed quit, not working with the group for almost a full year before mending fences. In his absence, however, the show did go on with Ken Scott filling in.
Cry, baby, cry, make your mother sigh.
With John singing a guide vocal and playing an acoustic guitar, Paul on the bass, George on the organ, and Ringo on the drums, the band behaved themselves and got some work done and played nice. As we hear in take 1, they had clearly rehearsed the song a great deal prior to rolling tape.
She's old enough to know better, so cry, baby, cry, cry, baby, cry.
Take 10 was the keeper as they finished up, took an hour break, left the studios for an hour, and then got back to work. This seems to be one of the few undocumented moments in the life of the Beatles, and nobody seems to know where the Beatles spent this hour. It's likely that they took a little walk down to Paul McCartney's house. It's even more likely that they got stoned and then went back to work. They got back to the studio and worked more on the song, although the only overdubs done during this late-night session was George Martin's first harmonium and John Lennon's piano. The following day there was no session as the band attended the world premiere of the Yellow Submarine film.
Once upon a time, or maybe twice, there was an unearthly paradise called Pepperland.
The day after that, now the 18th, it was back to the studio for more overdubs. First off was John adding a new vocal, wiping out most of the guide vocal recorded during the previous session, although the first chorus of the song curiously uses the guide vocal in the final mix.
Cry, baby, cry, make your mother sigh. She's old enough to know better.
Paul added some background vocals, George added a few guitar lines, George Martin added a second harmonium, and Ringo played the tambourine. After this, they all added some tea party sound effects, likely just cups and plates that were around.
The Duchess of Kincardine, always smiling and arriving late for tea.
And with this, the song was all done, a mythical and mystical Lennon offering that fits in well with the extremely difficult to categorize fourth side of the Double White Album. But during the final session for the album, when they came up with the running order, they decided that they needed a bit of something to go in between Cry Baby Cry and the next bit of noise that was going to be on the album. And the next time we meet, we'll discuss what came next as we continue to learn all about the White Album. Until then, class dismissed. I am Professor Moptop.
1, 2, 3, 4.
A Moptop production.
Very good.